And there we are. Sorry about that. Slight technical hitch there. Welcome. This is Learning Live at HID Academy. My name is Rob Puricelli, and I am an instructional designer with the HID Academy, and I'll be your host for this session. Welcome along wherever you might be. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on whereabouts in the world you are. But do let us know in the chat. Say hi. That would be fantastic. And if you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, you can do that on the relevant pages and just join in the conversation. And if you have any questions, we'd love to hear those as well. Now, before we get into meeting our guests today and discussing the topic, which is all about the differences between direct-to-card and retransfer printing and how HID Fargo is supporting that, let me just remind you that if you haven't already, please do give us a like, give us a thumbs up if you enjoy the show and the content, and that would be super helpful. Of course, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel or subscribe to our LinkedIn page, and that way you'll get notifications of all the upcoming streams that we have. We generally do one every sort of month or so. We've got some exciting topics to cover for the rest of the year. We've had some good stuff already, and this one is no different. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, and then if you want to get notifications, hit the bell on there on the YouTube page, and you'll get notified of the streams as and when they are scheduled. And if you know somebody in your business or in your industry that doesn't watch these shows and you think they might actually get some benefit from them, then please do share our content to those people. Share the links to the channels or share the links to the videos and encourage them to take part. So this is one of the numerous ways that we convey learning and knowledge to our partners and our users. So yeah, do that. Let people know that we're out there. If you have a question during the show, then can you please preface it with a big capital Q? That just helps my aging eyesight pick it out and put it into the relevant pot so that we can answer that at the appropriate time. There is going to be a session at the end of this show where we have a little Q&A. So if you have something that you want to ask us, please do, and give us a question and we'll try and get it answered. If we can't answer it during the show, then you can also email us, training@hidglobal.com, and one of our team will be able to pick that question up and hopefully get you an answer as soon as possible. But we will get you an answer. So please do, if your question isn't answered in the show, get in touch via email. You can also go and visit hid.global.com/training, where you can access the HID Academy Learning Center. And we have all of our content over there. That's e-learning content, video content. We have certifications and all sorts of stuff. Hundreds, literally hundreds of training options and lots of stuff to do with card issuance, which is our topic for today. So do go and sign up there. And that would be fantastic if you do. Right, I'm going to stop talking for a little bit because I want to introduce my two guests. They're two long-term colleagues of mine. I've known these guys a very long time. One of them has since left the academy, is doing other great things, but we'll come to him in just a moment. We are now going to go into the future. We're going to go into the future to Hong Kong, where it must be getting close to somewhere close to midnight, which is a bit of a Michael Jackson reference because Will was at a Michael Jackson movie last night, weren't you, Will?
Oh, thank you. So I'm Will Lights from Hong Kong. I'm the instructor and course developer with the HID Academy. Currently, I'm focused on all things about Fargo printers, and I'm based in Hong Kong. Nice to meet you guys.
Good to see you. And how was the film last night? Was it good?
Perfect. It's perfect. So I recommend everyone to watch that.
Fantastic. It was the Michael Jackson movie, wasn't it?
Yep, and also the concept is someone sure Michael Jackson is not here. Someone, do that.
Fantastic, good stuff. Glad you had a great time. Now we're going to go back in time because we're going to cross over to the United States of America, and we're going to join my colleague Nick Fleece. Nick, good morning. Is it still morning there?
Yes, it is still morning where I'm at. So good morning, everybody, and good evening, Will. My name is Nick Fleece. I'm a technical trainer for secure issuance at HID Fargo. If you know me, you've probably seen me in one of my Fargo authorized service provider classes. I typically lead these training sessions around pretty much around the globe every year. I'm also developing essentially the training courses for the Fargo portfolio and all of our products, as well as numerous videos and stuff. I'm excited to be here today and ready to dive into this topic with you guys.
Fantastic. Great to see you both. Very familiar faces to me over the years. So it's always good to hang with you guys. So we've got a great topic today, and it's one that often comes up in discussions with users and partners and stuff. And it's basically all the differences between direct-to-card printing and retransfer printing. And there are some distinct differences there. So I think what we'll do is we'll kick off with DTC printing. And I think Will is going to kind of talk us through the process of DTC, and then we'll come to Nick and he'll talk us through retransfer high definition printing, and we can see where the differences lie. So Will, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So direct to card or DTC means the printer prints directly on the card surface, and the card passes under the print head, and the ribbon adds color step by step until the image or text are complete. Because of this, direct to card is usually quick, practical, and affordable. In most standard ID and batch programs, DTC is a strong choice because it offers a good mix of print quality, speed, and price. Next, please.
Yep.
Thank you. So here we can see some main ribbon components used in the DTC printing. We have YMC panel, means yellow, magenta, and cyan. Those colors are combined step by step to create the full color image of the card. The resin panel, you can see the K, is used for black details like text, barcodes, and fine lines. HID also offers black, white, and gold resin ribbons, depending on the card design and the visual effect needed. And then there is the overlay panels, which adds clear layers over the printed card surface. And this layer is there to protect the card and help the printed image stay in good condition during the daily use. Another important point about overlay ribbon is this is used in DTC printers, not in the retransfer printers. In simple terms, for the ribbon, it gives us color from YMC, details from resin, and protection from overlay. Over to you.
Okay. Yeah, Nick, so you want to talk us through retransfer printing?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the retransfer printers or with the HDP printers, the technology is going to be quite a bit different than the direct-to-card printers. As Will kind of previously stated, in the DTC printers, the printhead comes directly in contact with the ribbon and the card itself. So for HDP printers, I believe we have a little graphic we can show here, and this is going to take you through essentially the two-step process of what it is to print a card with the retransfer printer. So this first step here, you can see the printhead is actually printing from the ribbon onto the film, and it's printing each panel in the same location to make the desired color or the desired design. And then the next thing that's going to happen is that that film panel is going to move up to the transfer roller, and then using heat and pressure, that film is going to be then transferred or adhered onto the card. So this is going to allow for a few other things that the DTC printer just simply can't deliver. This is going to be kind of the true edge-to-edge printing, since we actually transfer the image onto the card, so you're not going to have any white borders left with the card. The print quality and resolution is going to be much higher. And so let's take a look at the consumables for our retransfer printers. They're going to be pretty similar to what we saw previously on the direct-to-card panel ribbons, with the exception that the ribbon for the retransfer printers is not going to have an overlay panel. That's because, again, the printing process with retransfer printers is a two-step process, printing the ribbon to the film and then transferring the film to the card. So again, with the film being transferred to the card, it also adds an additional layer of protection because that image is actually under that layer of film. So again, this is going to be great for durability, cards lasting a long time. The ribbon does follow the same format as the DTC. We have the YMC panels that it's going to be used to make all your pictures, all your vibrant colors. And then we have the K panel or the resin panel, which is going to be used for text, barcodes, anything like that. Now, you may also see another ribbon that we have available. It's the YMC KK. That ribbon is typically used when you have, say, verbiage or any text you would like to print on the back of the card. We also provide an additional K panel for backside printing. And
awesome
yeah,
stuff. Yeah. So I guess to look at, to kind of talk about it simply, the name, the clue is in the name. Direct to card prints direct to the card. Retransfer printing prints onto a film that is then retransferred onto a card surface. So it's pretty self-explanatory. But the real difference here is cost and detail and that kind of stuff. That retransfer printing gives you more detail, but at a higher cost. And DTC is kind of for just low cost, rapid kind of stuff. Would that be a fair assumption to make?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So why don't we talk about the printers that HID Fargo supply to put all these things into place. Actually, before I do that, let me just bring this in here, because these are the differences right here. Do you want to just elaborate on any of that for us? I know we've just kind of covered it.
Just very simple. From this slide, you can see that DTC is a good choice if your priority is cost and speed. And the printing needs are more basic, and it provides 300 by 600 dpi resolutions, and is suitable for normal cards and ID cards and access badges. And because of the DTC pins directly to the card surface, is usually visible white border, just like Nick mentioned just now, and it works best for the PVC cards, and it commonly used, and also the expected card life is about 1 to 2 years. And DTC is also suitable for rewritable cards applications. And that's it. So over to you, Nick.
Yeah, so where the HDP or retransfer printers really shine is going to be, the priority for these printers is going to be on quality and durability. So the HDP has much higher quality. I don't want to say much higher quality than DTC, but it has a 600 by 600 DPI resolution that's going to give you sharper images and crisper details on the card. This printer does work on PVC, composite, and polycarbonate cards, but these cards are going to be the longer expected lifespan. So these printers, again, like I said, the priority for HDP is quality and durability, and it really shines in those two categories. Another added feature of these HDP printers is, since it has the retransfer technology, that's much better to print on cards that have embedded media in them. Because sometimes, that card surface isn't always smooth. Maybe the chip sits up a little bit off of the card body. The HDP or retransfer printers are going to do a much better job at printing on those cards than a direct-to-card printer.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so some good information there, and some good hints and tips as to which printer format will suit the kinds of cards you want to print. Right. Okay, so let's move on to that comparison that we've got here. So this is a range of HID Fargo printers. We've got some DTCs and HDPs. I'll hand it back over to you, Will, to talk us through the DTC offering.
Okay. The slide shows 3 DTC printers in Fargo range: DTC 1250E, 1500, and also 4500E. The print speed is the same, but the major difference are ribbon count and also the lamination. So if you take a look for the DTC 1250E, it supports 300 cards, and while DTC 1500 and DTC 4500E support 700 cards. So it's better for high volume printing. Another key difference is lamination. So the lamination module is available only on the DTC 1500 and also DTC 4500E, and it's not available in 1250E. And all these 3 models also support encoding. We offer magnetic encoder, contact and contactless encoder, and this encoder can be moved between DTC printers. For example, an encoder from DTC 1250E can later be installed in DTC 1500. So the main message is very simple, that they have same speed, and the biggest differences are the capacity of the card and also the lamination.
Excellent. Nick, over to you.
All right, and then when it comes to our HDP or retransfer printer portfolio, we have 2 options for you here. We have the HDP 5000E, which is going to be essentially your everyday kind of workhorse printer. It's built on a very proven platform, highly reliable, and with extremely flexible options such as different encoders. Like Will mentioned, for the DTC platform, the HDP platform also has contactless magnetic encoders that are available. And both of our retransfer or HDP units are also options to have with lamination. So you have a lamination option with both printers, you have encoding options with both printers. Really, the biggest difference between the 5000E and the 6600 is going to come down to the consumable counts. Your HDP 6600 is going to have slightly higher consumables, meaning that you're able to produce more cards per ribbon and film. The reason for that is our HDP 6600 is our high performance, high throughput solution. So it has a higher count consumable to help prevent you from changing consumables so often if you have large batch prints. It also has a true 600 by 600 DPI print quality and really unrivaled print speed. So those are really the main differences between our Retransfer line. If you want a good, reliable, everyday desktop printer, the HDP 5000E is for you. Or if you more want high quality and high performance at very high throughput speeds, so you want to print a bunch of cards in a short period of time, the HDP 6600 is going to be your best bet.
Awesome stuff. And it's probably just worth explaining, because there might be some people watching today that may be new to the industry, new to the concepts here. We're very keen on using 3-letter acronyms in our business, so I'm always keen to make sure that people understand what they are. So DPI stands for dots per inch, so the more dots per inch, the finer the detail that we can print. And CPH stands for cards per hour. So as you can see there, as Will pointed out, the DTCs do 225 card per hour, and the HDPs do them the 5000 does 133, which is a little slower, but there's obviously a lot more going on there. So that makes the 6600s throughput at 230 cards per hour pretty impressive for a Retransfer printer. So you can just see that, appreciate the differences there. But I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on the 3-letter acronyms. Talking of which, our next topic, because HID Global is very into security and secure identities, and we make the technologies that sit in these cards very secure. If you're looking at technologies like CIOS, but of course, security when it comes to printing cards can mean being able to verify that that printed card has been printed by the people we want it to be printed by. So we have what we call VSS, or Visual Security Solutions. So I think, Will, you were going to talk about some of these. Well, actually, you're both going to go through some. So why don't you tell us about custom watermarks?
Yeah, sure. The custom watermark features in DTC because we use overlay, and the watermark is created in the overlay panels and adds extra layer of the visual security to the card. So it values is help people to verify the cards quickly by sight, and while making it more difficult for a clone to copy the design correctly. So maybe you can show there's some animations for the cards, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. We've got, just do this. There we go. So you can see it there on the surface.
Yeah, you see that very nice one. And you don't have to put some extra cost because you just have to use the overlay to do that. So it's really good for DTC.
Yeah, and another kind of visual security solution that we have for cards that have already been printed, we're going to have this option available on both the HDP and the DTC printers, but it's going to be the resin scramble. So the example you see on the screen there, that's going to be a ribbon taken out of a HDP 6600. And essentially, if you have any text, like maybe a name, an account number, or maybe you're printing cards with sensitive information on them, and you don't want that information to stay on the ribbon. Well, we have an option within the driver called Resin Scramble that'll actually render that K panel where all that sensitive information was printed unreadable. So how it does this is it actually takes another transfer panel, because if you remember earlier, we talked about HDP printing is a 2-step process, the ribbon to the film, and then the film to the card. So essentially what happens when you enable Resin Scramble is once the film gets transferred to the card, another layer of film is used on the K panel that you can see here to completely obfuscate any information that's on that panel. So if you take the ribbon out and you go through it, you're not going to be able to see any cardholder data or any information that may have been printed by the K panel. Now, I do want to say that it looks like this for the 6600. It does look a little bit different for the DTC printer. It still renders the information unreadable. And another thing kind of worth mentioning with this feature is if you do turn this feature on, it will add, about 10 to 15 seconds to each print job, because it has to go back and obfuscate that panel on the ribbon.
Cool. But it's a
yes.
good idea, isn't it, for security?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We also have some more, even more advanced levels of visual security. So, Will.
My favorite part. Yep. So talk about the UV printing and also the microtext. So for UV printing, maybe you should know, because actually if you print by UV printing, you can use a UV touch like this, and then you turn it on, and then you can see some hidden pictures that is shown. So both DTC and HDP can do the UV printing by using the F panel ribbon, and which adds security features that can be seen under UV light. And by microtext, the difference comes from the print resolution, and DTC use 300 by 600 dpi, while HDP 6600 use 600 by 600 dpi. So the microtext can be finer and clear. So pass to you.
Oh, yeah. So thanks, Will. Another option we have for kind of some added visual security elements onto the card is generic holograms. So on all of our printers that are compatible with lamination, so we have the DTC 1500, the DTC 4500E, and both retransfer printers, you're going to have the option to have custom lamination with either a custom hologram on it or one of our standard kind of generic holograms. And essentially what this does is it adds another security element to the front of the card, kind of like an additional element that you can check just to help prevent counterfeiting or bad cards into your organization. So this, again, that lamination material is going to be available for all the printers that are compatible with laminators, and they can be ordered with either custom holograms or just generic holograms, whichever you would like.
Yeah, so plenty of options there for differing levels of security, again depending on your end use case of how secure you want your cards to be. Excellent. Right, so let's talk about use cases. The cards get used for all sorts of different things, and here are some here. Do you want to talk us through these?
Yeah, so when you look across different printing environments, the needs can actually be pretty different depending on which vertical you're talking about. So, and that's where kind of the DTC and HDP printers really start to separate from one another. So let's take employee IDs or even government IDs, for example. You're typically dealing with high security credentials that need to last a long time. So that's where the HDP or retransfer printer really stands out. And it's usually the better fit there. Giving you better durability and helping you show signs of tampering if there are any. So now in healthcare, it's a little different, but durability is still key. So those badges are used all day, exposed to chemicals, constant wear. So again, the HDP is probably going to be your best fit here for healthcare industry. Now for things like student IDs and membership and loyalty cards, typically you have high volume and those cards don't need to last as long. And typically what people are looking at for membership programs and student ID programs, you got to play a few more things into consideration. They typically want faster printers, they have simpler designs, and they want it to be more cost effective. So here in maybe the student IDs and membership loyalty cards, maybe the DTC is a better fit here, just because they do print very fast. They're a little cheaper than retransfer printers, and the quality is still outstanding.
Cool stuff. So yeah, I mean these are kind of four very key uses that we see amongst our partners. For employee IDs, government IDs particularly, and we're seeing a lot of campuses use these printers and cards. And I was believe it or not, I was in a gym recently and I saw a DTC, I think it was a 1500 on the desk, and they print off their gym cards with one of those. So they're absolutely everywhere. But as we move forward and the demands of our society change and everything, we see some quite novel use cases. And Will's got a great example of something that uses photo booths. Or tell me more.
Yeah. I prepare videos for 1 minute, and before the video starts, I want to share one new example beyond the typical vertical market just mentioned by Nick. We have something called entertainment. So we are seeing new use cases like this project in China can show that maybe. This project in China, and where we use DTC 1250E as a part of the kiosk solutions. And in this setup, user can use selfie, and you can see the video. Yeah, you can see that from here. Yeah, you can play it. I can try to explain it. So there's a kiosk, and then we can use some kiosk and then selfie and take some photo and style image and select all the features and all the touch up, the touching your space, and also the AI based photo editing. And by that, the cards can be printed out immediately once you after your selfie. This is very good because DTC is quite quick to print the card, DTC 1250E. So it's something new that you can think about. That it's not a typical verticals, but it's really good for you to explore the world, and we have a lot of opportunity other than the typical verticals. So that's what I would share to you.
Yeah, so it's cool to see printers being used in in a very different and unique way, and I can see those kind of things are going to be very, very popular with the younger generation. But yeah, cool stuff. Right, okay, so let's see what have we got next on our schedule. We shall talk about, as my screen whizzes past there. Yeah, so we talked about applications. We've spoken about the printers. We've spoken about the differences about the printers. And by the way, we've got a bunch of questions coming in on the chat. So fantastic stuff. Please do ask a question. Throw it into the chat, whether you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube. We will see them all, and we'll try and bring as many of them into the Q&A at the end. But let's just talk about the do's and the don'ts. What should we do and what should we not do to ensure an optimal printing experience? So I think we're going to kick off with DTCs. Yep. So with a direct to card printing solution, let me just bring this up here. There we go. So what should we do with direct to card printing? Will?
Maybe some guys in some audience see that. Maybe after they see this slide, then you don't need to ask a question because some questions related to that. So sure. This slide is talking about the DTC options like rewritable cards, watermark, and adhesive card. So rewritable cards are coated with a thermochromic layer. This layer changes colors when heat is applied, and the printed information can be updated again and again. It typically changes between white and blue or white or black. And between that, and then depending on the card type, this is very useful for the cards is for needs regular updates like visitor cards. So for the watermark, it adds very simple VS visual security features to have the making copies more difficult. And then lastly, in the right hand side is we call it adhesive card, which are used when the card surface is not suitable for direct printing. For example, such as clamshell. If you have a long history, you have the clamshell because it's a very thick one. And we print first, then peel and stick. So this is something called adhesive card. It's very good for using the DTC printer to do that.
Okay. And how about things we shouldn't be doing?
Yes, this is important. And this slide shows two important things. Firstly, don't print on the chip area. So in the left-hand side, you see there's some chip there, antennas there. If you print on the chip area, because the surface is not even, it's uneven, and also the print result may not look consistent. It happens because DTC print directly on the card surface. So the print head needs even contact with the card. If the card surface is raised or uneven, then this direct contact method can cause visible defects and weak prints in that area. And secondly, don't use a dirty or oily card because the ribbon may not transfer evenly. Also, don't touch the card surface directly. Don't do it like this, okay? Because especially you use hand cream, some oily things will attach to the card surface. So hold the card by the edge. So keep the surface clean. So this is very simple, and please don't do that.
Sure. Might be worth having one of those boxes of latex gloves around by the printer so you can do that as well.
Some gloves.
It's definitely worth considering. So there's some do's and don'ts with the DTCs, but how about HDP printers, Nick?
Yeah, so some of the do's for HDPs and some of the unique features that come with this is resin scramble, and especially if we're printing high security badges with sensitive information, it's always a good idea to enable resin scramble to essentially hide that information. Now, most people have to securely dispose of a ribbon, but in the event something slips through the cracks, you'll know you'll be protected if you have resin scramble enabled. Again, just remember that with each of these features listed on the screen here, which are going to be features in your retransfer printer, they will add a little bit of time to each print job. So if speed is really what you're looking for, then we may kind of bypass some of these. But again, if let's say we have a retransfer printer and you didn't choose to buy the lamination module, we have another feature called multipass. And essentially what this does is this allows you to apply an additional film layer to either the front or back of the card or both. So essentially this just gives you an extra transfer panel put on top of your already printed card for some added durability to make the card last a little longer. Now, something to note with that is multipass. It is easily enabled through the driver in the HDP 6600 printer. But one of the things, again, it's going to take a little longer to do the print, and it's going to go through your film essentially twice as fast if you decide to put another layer on the front and the back of the card. So again, if you're doing 750 prints per film, and you enable multipass on the front of the card, you can cut that number in half, and that should be the expected number of cards you'll get from that film. The other option we have that is really great, is another great visual security element, is the F panel, or the fluorescing UV panel. Now, we do offer ribbon that have the F panel available, and essentially how this works is we would use an extra transfer film panel to print the fluorescing image on, and then apply that panel over the card after the card has been printed. So this adds that extra layer that you can see with like a UV flashlight that Will was kind of demonstrating earlier. So these are some of the great things that we can do with retransfer printers, or that we should be doing for added security and things like that. So things that we do not recommend using for retransfer printers is if you're using a single-sided retransfer printer, we do not recommend using 100% PVC cards. The reason for this is how cards are made. Typically, cards are made with a bunch of layers, and they're put under extreme pressure and heat. Well, as you can see from the graphic we had earlier, retransfer printers operate in the same way. When they transfer the image to the card, they emit extreme heat and pressure onto the card to kind of fuse that image onto the card body. So typically when we see this with PVC cards, since the material is not as good as, say, polycarbonate or maybe PC blended cards, when this amount of heat is applied just to one side of the card, you can see card warp as shown on the screen. Typically this goes away when we introduce dual-sided printing, because the same heat and pressure is put on the back side of the card to print that card, so it straightens out in the end. So again, we do not recommend PVC cards for single-sided printing, and we definitely do not recommend using adhesive back cards. So like the cards for clamshells that Will was talking about earlier, the Mylar backed or the adhesive cards, that we do not use those in the HDP or retransfer printers. And just another thing I'd like to add to this slide is if you are using 100% PVC cards and say you have a dual-sided printer with lamination, that's going to cause some problems too, because now that PVC card has to be put under extreme heat and pressure twice, once to be printed and once to be laminated. So typically when we're talking about lamination, we want a polycarbonate blended or a stronger, more durable card versus just 100% PVC. So just some things to think about when using lamination and retransfer printers.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the heat, what temperature do those HDP printers get up to inside? It's quite hot, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like 170 degrees Celsius. Yeah. So it gets pretty warm. That's why if you ever are working with a printhead, we recommend that the printer stays unplugged for about 20 or 30 minutes before you reach in there and start doing things.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Well, we've kind of covered most of the topics here, and hopefully that's given everyone a good idea of the key differences between the two technologies. They're both excellent technologies, but some are good for some things and some are better at other things. So it really does pay to explore what your needs are and which printer is going to suit you best. And of course, the best way to do that is to take some training at the HID Academy Learning Center, or speak to your HID representative, and they'll be able to guide you through that process and make sure that you're getting the right printer for your requirements. And say Will mentioned earlier about the ability to move encoders between all of the DTC printers, which means that if you start off with a light use but want to go to a heavier kind of use with a larger capacity, you can take your encoders from one machine and put them in another. So that's a really great cost saving feature there. So I'm going to stop talking again because we've had loads of questions, guys. So we're going to bring some of these questions in. So first of all, I want to say hi to Mohammed. We've got Tharinster. We've got Ethan from Qatar. We've got Alex there in the chat room as well. Mo Bazes. Yeah, lots of people from all around the world. So hi to you. Thanks for watching, and I hope that this has been useful for you. I'm going to bring some questions in that we may not have covered before. This is a good one because we're talking about printing cards. We're not actually talking about designing cards. So Jason Franco wants to know, when designing a card, do you have to design in CMYK or can you design in RGB?
Good question. So normally for RGB is for black background, because like our monitor, we use black background, we use RGB to mix, and then RGB actually mix up, and then after that it become white in color. However, in cards industry, we use white background, so we invert the colors system and make it YMC. YMC is inverted. So after we mix it YMC, then the color will become black. So it's really good for white background printing. So normally the ID card printing, in this industry, we use YMCK.
There we go.
And K is for the black, because true
Yeah.
black, A is true black.
Yeah. A question from Duran. I see that all of these printed models offer encoding. Is this inline encoding? Nick, is it all inline encoding?
Yes, so the encoders are actually installed in the printer, depending on which model you have. So the DTCs are going to be, they'll all have the same bays, as Will mentioned earlier. The same encoders can be shared across printers. But yes, for the retransfer printers too, the card will print, and then the card will either, so if you have a dual-sided printer, the contact encoder and the magnetic encoder will be actually installed in the flipper portion of the printer, and the contactless encoder actually sits atop the card path if you're familiar with our retransfer printers. So yes, the answer to that question is yes.
Okay, excellent. Right, Grukos, I hope I pronounced that correctly. How are the security printing features added? Does it need a separate tool? I think that's a pretty simple answer to that one.
Yep, some of them yes, some of them no. Just like watermark use overlay, so you don't need to buy anything. However, for holographic frame, holographic over laminations, these kind of things, we need a module. It's called lamination modules, and only some of the printer provide these features, like DTG 1250 don't have, and you can buy 4500E or HDP 5000E or HDP 6600. This kind of printers can offer you the lamination, this kind of security features. Yes, we need that. And however, for F panel, and some of the printers also have F panel and some do not have. So if you want to have more details of that, go to HID website and then we can show more about that.
Sure. So when you're specifying your printer, it's always good to know up front what security features you need, and then see if you need the lamination module to add that extra feature, or whether it's an in-ribbon feature that can be done in the printer itself. Cool. Okay. HDP 6600. This is Rolando Valencia. HDP 6600. Does it consume a transfer film panel on the resin scramble function?
Great question. So in short, yes. And just to kind of elaborate that on a little further, because I'm not sure if I covered it when we talked about this a little bit earlier, is that each card is going to be limited to 4 transfer panels. So again, if you're printing the front and back of the card, for example, you get 1 panel for the front, 1 panel for the back. To answer Rolando's question here, yes, an additional panel will be used to obfuscate, to essentially render the K panel unreadable. So that will add an additional panel. But like I said, so some of those features we talked about earlier, resin scramble, multipass, and F panel, we can't use all of them simultaneously. Because if we use all of them simultaneously, that means 6 transfer panels are going to be allotted for 1 card, when the max that we do is 4. So essentially, if you want to set something up like that, we can print a dual-sided card, and you can add multipass on the front and back. But if we do that, we can't do resin scramble and we can't do F panel. Now, if we did a dual-sided card and only added an additional multipass film layer on the front, then we could still do resin scramble on the K panel, because that would equal 4 panels total. But long story short, to answer your question, yes. If you enable resin scramble, it will use another transfer panel.
Okay, excellent. Right. Grukos has another question. For the HDP, since it prints on the ribbon, then the ribbon goes on the card, does that add delays? You sees the speed of HDP is lower than DTC, but the 6600 looks faster. So we did kind of talk about that earlier in the stream. So because there's more processes going on, you know, you're printing onto a film, and then the film is being put on the card rather than just direct to the card. That will inherently take longer. But with the 6600, it's a really high-end printer, and so the speeds are increased. So the answer is kind of yes and no, isn't it? Yes, HDP will take longer, but if you go up to the kind of the top of the range, it's almost the same as a DTC, right?
Yeah, so there's one important caveat there. The HTTP 6600 is going to have pretty much unrivaled throughput, but the caveat with that is it has to have a third-party software that's driving the print jobs that allows for simultaneous encoding and printing, meaning that the printer can encode cards while it's printing cards. So if you have a third-party software that can enable that feature for the 6600, then yes, you're going to get up to 230 cards per hour, especially batch printing, if you have encoding to go alongside with those cards.
Okay, excellent stuff. Again, speak to your HID rep to get details of which printer is going to be best suited for your needs. Over on LinkedIn, we've got Mo, who is asking, how often do we need to use a cleaning kit, and why is it important to use? That's a great question.
Great question. So for DTC printers, we always recommend you to have every 1,000 cards at minimum. So depending on the environment, card quality, and also usage rate, it depends on really the environment. So I should highly suggest you to buy the cleaning kit. Especially one thing that's very important is every time you buy ribbons from HID, it should come with the cleaning roller. And the cleaning roller is very important for the card clean, because for the card, for example, this card, maybe someone hold it like this and someone hold it like this, and all the cards may have dust on the surface of the card. So the cleaning roller actually, before it go into the card printer, before the clean head, it will clean the surface of the bottom layer, this layer, and then when the card and when the clean head goes up, and then it will touch the card surface, and it makes sure the card is clean by using the cleaning roller, because it's sticky and it will stick all the dust out from the card surface. So I highly recommend you to buy the cleaning kit and also clean the clean head sometimes, and also per every 1,000 cards as a minimum to clean the card path. Sometimes the card path rubber as well, using the IPA tissue paper, and to clean that.
Okay, yeah, cleaning is very, very important.
Very important.
We've got loads of videos that show you how to go through and clean those cards. Nick sends me them all the time with the updates. Lots of cleaning videos that will take you through step by step, and it's always very important to keep your card cleaner or card cleaning process regular and frequent, as Will has just said there. We've got time for one more question. This is coming in from French Grom 7272. Hello from Cocoa Beach. Oh, way to make us jealous. Just curious if the O panel on the DTC ribbon provides more or less protection from surface abrasion than the transfer film from the HDP printers, assuming that you're not using lamination. Who wants to take that one?
I can answer that. If I miss some point, then they can add it together. So actually, if you compare, we do not have a real data to have comparison, but I know that in the markets they have someone to do the abrasion test, or using the something like this, and then to scratch it. And generally, if you're curious about the durability between these two, I can say that HDP film is a little bit better than the overlaid. That is my answer.
Okay, there you go. Anything to add to that, Nick?
No, just to remember that if you don't go with lamination and you have a retransfer printer, and you're worried about durability and things like that, you can always use the multipass feature. That's going to put another panel on front of that to at least just add to that durability. But no, I don't have anything to add other than that.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, we have literally run right up to the wire. It's brilliant that we can fill, and it's just so great that so many people have been asking questions. Thank you so much. It does make these things much more pleasing when we get lots of interaction from the audience. So thank you to everyone who's asked a question today. If we haven't got to your question, please don't forget that you can email us at training@hidglobal.com and ask your question, and will probably pick that up. And if he's not around, if he's finished for the day, somebody else will pick it up and get that answered for you as soon as possible. So please do that. Of course, you can always speak to your local HID representative who will be able to help you out with anything there. So gentlemen, thank you very, very much for your participation, all the hard work that you've put into getting this ready for today. I just want to remind everyone that you can go over to hidglobal.com/training, and you can access the HID Academy Learning Center right there. And if you are interested in anything to do with card issuance, there is a specific card issuance section, and you go in there and you can find courses on all of our printers, all of our portfolios, all of our cards, all of our technologies. Everything is in there, cleaning videos and how-to guides and all that kind of stuff. It's all there. So there's lots and lots of content. Please do go and join up. It's free of charge to join. And all the details about joining are at that very web address right there, hidglobal.com/training. I also want to say that we are about to celebrate our first anniversary of the community section of our learning center, which is where all you people can just join in and ask questions of us trainers and instructional designers. There are sections for each of our business areas. So there's a card issuance section, there is a section for physical access control, and so on. And to celebrate 1 year of communities, we want to encourage people to come in and join in and participate. We've got a contest running that starts on Monday next week, and it runs for 10 days. So 5 days on the first week, 5 days on the second week. And each day, one of my colleagues, Paul, will be asking you a question. And all you've got to do is answer that question, and you'll get one entry into a contest to win a fun prize. And if you enter 10 times, so one question a day for 10 days, you'll have 10 entries in the pot. So you'll stand an even better chance of winning the prize. So head over to hidglobal.com/training. Sign up for the Academy if you haven't already. And if you have signed up, then go over to the community section and make use of it. You can talk to other learners. You can talk to all of us here at Academy as well. It's a really great place to kind of mingle and learn and exchange ideas. It's kind of like social media for HID Academy. So pop over there and say next week and the week after, we've got this contest and you can win yourself a prize. You can enter once a day for 10 days over 2 weeks. And who knows, you might be lucky. And if you do win, take a picture, send it in to training@hidglobal.com. We'll feature it on our next live stream, which will be coming up fairly soon. And the best way to remember when that is coming is to subscribe to our LinkedIn page or our YouTube page, and make sure you're set up for notifications. And as soon as the next stream is scheduled, then we will, you will get a notification of that. So don't forget to sign up over there. We will be back very soon. News of that will come through fairly quickly. But once again, Nick and Will, thank you ever so much. We're going to let Will go to bed now because it's very late there. And have a great day wherever you are. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend coming. We'll see you all soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.